Hey guys, welcome to part 3 in this video. Following again off of the previous two videos for the 1957 Johnson 3 horsepower JW-13. Today doing the carb rebuild. This one is off my 54 because the carb body on this one is junk. When I got it, it was full of water, just really corroded. The top ears on one side here were broken off. The float actuator was, or float pin housing was broken, corroded off. So I just decided to use this one for now until I get a better one. So the carb kit will be this one, a Sierra 187043. I paid, I think, $13 or $14, maybe I think less than that. They weren't very much money. They weren't the $17.95 that this shows. I got the last couple they had in stock, I think. This kit does not come with a float. However, I have had this carburetor part already once before, so I know that the float at least operates and doesn't sink. This carb kit replaces OMC kits 382047, 3832049, and 383052, 067, and 398532. And that should be just for the various sizes of engines, because this covers from 3 horsepower up to, even the 1.5, the 1.5 up to, I think, the mid-20s. So let's get started. First, before we do that, I'm gonna go quiet the dogs down. Okay, so first off, I will take this out of here. I might need to find another size wrench. Just put that aside. And we'll take the gland nut off. And both gland nuts, the high speed and low speed needles, are 11 millimeter. The hose end that goes into the carburetor bowl is 10. I have had this carburetor part once before. Oh, the joy of having pets. So I know it's pretty decent. So there's our low speed needle and gland packing nut. Or excuse me, the other one is the high speed needle. This one is the low speed needle. And she looks pretty good. No weird shaping, dents, bends. Excuse me. So we'll take our screwdriver and undo all of these. The one thing I forgot to grab, I might have to go out and grab it real quick, is my hook pick, so I can get the old packing out of the nut areas. try not to make this video too long. Cut it down, speed some things up. Everything's relatively clean, just I don't know why this thing keeps, oh maybe that's it right there. Nope. Guess not. So it is just, I can get this to where it, no, maybe not. My light isn't good enough. But just some light sediment from what was in there from before. Our old gasket, and let's see, let's pop this pin out. Pin and the float. Needle. I have to go grab my other screwdriver. I don't know if this one's going to do it. Yep, I'll go grab the other screwdriver. I'll take nice, ouch, higher speed net needle out. Take the old felt washer off. Looks pretty clean. Pretty clean there. So I'll be right back, and I'll grab a screwdriver for the seat, needle seat. And we're back. Alright, let's try and get this out of here. Might be easier said than done. Oh, we're good. Okay. There's our old needle seat. So the only other thing we have to do is remove this little aluminum plug in the top of the low speed, and for that I just use a drill that's a little smaller, well, quite a bit smaller than the actual hole, so I don't go through it. And you just want to go very gently. You don't want to go too fast and damage the inside. Usually just a little bit of a divot is enough to get it out. aluminum shavings here real quick. I usually just use a screwdriver, poke a hole in it, and then pry it right out. That one came out relatively pretty easily. Please excuse my son. Okay, I've got some carb cleaner, so I'll go wash this out really quick. Okay, got that all washed out. Just gonna wash some of the gunk off of the surfaces and out of the holes. I flushed this carburetor with carb cleaner through the main jet hole, the needle and seat area, which is also this hole. So I flush it from the small way to the big way first, and then the big way to the small way. I flush the vents on either side here in the bowl, and then back through the actual holes just to make sure I get everything out of there. Sorry if you couldn't hear me. Trying to do this inside where it was a little bit warmer. But dogs barking outside, dogs barking inside, so that's kind of how it goes. I don't have a dedicated space to do this until it really warms up, and then I can go outside and do it. But it's close to 20 degrees here in Washington, so just a smidge cold. Okay, looks like we got that pretty well clean. So I grabbed a different screwdriver. I couldn't find my pick, so I grabbed a screwdriver that I have that has a little tiny end on it. We'll see if I can pry these out of here. Who knows how old all this is. I'll pause this until I get this out. We'll come back. Right, here we are, back again. So I got all of the gland packing out of the low speed and all of the gland packing out of the high speed. It'll usually come out in little fibery chunks like that. So first off, I will start by reinstalling the plug in the top of the carburetor. Get this open. And these Sierra kits, at least these older ones, Come with an instruction sheet showing an exploded view of the carburetor. Models are pretty much the same, minus a few differences. The larger engines will have the roller and spring, return spring for the throttle arm, and this fuel bowl, sediment bowl down at the bottom. The 3 horsepowers and 1.5s and the 2s do not have the return spring or the sediment bowl on the bottom, as far as my knowledge goes. They also give you float bowl height relative to the carburetor when it's flipped upside down, so you're doing the float adjustment with the carburetor upside down. Like I said, these are for a multitude of different sized engines. They put enough of everything in here to do quite a few different engines, and usually 2 gaskets of similar sizes for the different engines. So you've got 2 of the smaller gaskets. They just differ in size just slightly. One's got a smaller hole and one's got a larger hole. And then same thing for the bigger gaskets. They differ just in shape, just slightly, and the size of the hole on either is bigger or smaller. New bowl gasket, new needle and seat, new lock washers. I'm not really too sure what these lock washers go to, or stud washers maybe, I guess is what these are. I'm not really sure. I've never used these on any of the engines that I've done. A new high-speed needle packing washer goes in between the carb body and the bowl. When this is inserted on there like so, it creates a seal against the bottom of the bowl. The needle hanger right there, and then they give you 2 different sized plugs, smaller one for the smaller engines and the bigger one for the bigger engines on the bigger carb. So obviously that one's not going to even come close to fitting. So this one just sits right in there flush, and then I usually just take just a 1/4-inch extension that I use and just set it in the center of the carburetor, and then just peen the center of it. And that creates a little dimple in the center of the plug to push it out, flatten it out and push it outward so that it stays in there and creates a seal. Let's see, next we'll do the needle and seat. We'll get that taken care of, needle and seat, and the we'll wait for the float. But they also give you a new float pin in case you reuse your float, or the kit usually comes with. The newer kits usually come with a plastic one. Some of the kits do, some of the kits don't. This one, I could probably stand to reseal it here pretty soon, but I know that it still works relatively well. I might reseal this sometime in the future. So there's our hinge pin and float. And then the nylon washer that they give you is for going on the seat, needle seat. Let me grab my screwdriver here. Now I don't know if these new seats are just taller or what, but they don't seem to always seat down. They get hard towards the bottom. I'm not quite sure why that is. This one seems that she's tight now, so I'm not going to worry about it. A few of them I've had, they get really stiff, and I'm not cross-threading them. I'm not. The threads aren't bunged up on the car body, so I don't know what the deal is there. But anyway, the high-speed needle. It screws in there until it stops. Just a light, snug fit. I always put this washer has a flat side and a round side. I don't know if it's seeable there. There's a flat side on my thumb and a rounded side on my finger. I put the flat side on my thumb towards the carb body and then the rounded side towards the bowl. That's just my preference. And then for the needle, I won't be using it yet, but there's a bit of an R section on this needle hook that goes around the top of the needle. Just clips onto it, hooks onto it. I really need to get better light. This is not working out. So just kind of like that. Or excuse me, the longer hooked part will go up, not against the needle. So it'll sit on there like that. Okay, then they give you 2, 4, 6, 7 gland nut packing washers. Now I don't know if these are like an OEM style packing nut or what, but I don't really like these really hard red colored ones. The more cork looking washers I like better because they're not as hard as these. But I just find the one that fits around the needle relatively snugly. So it just goes on there. And I think there are some different sizes of needles or packing rings in this kit. I could be wrong, but some of them look like they're a little bit smaller diameter than the others. Make sure you get the right ones. And the parts diagrams and the kit instructions show 2 rings per needle, so I've just been doing that and it's worked out pretty well. So I usually just start them in there first. Get the 2 in there. And then just at least get the nut so that it starts, because it can be kind of a pain in the butt. Okay. And then thread your needle in. until it lightly seats against the carb body. And then I just take, once I get the nut started and in there, I'll just start tightening down the nut. I think when I get the, I can't turn it now, but because that packing's still new. But when I get the new handle on there, or get the handle back on there, it should turn okay. If I need to, I can just loosen the nut a little bit, and it should turn okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Tighten it up just a little bit. Not too much. Okay. So that's it for that. So now we'll take the needle, take the pin out of the float, okay, and then the tab on the float, it's going to be really hard to see there, that little tab right here faces down, and then I just take the needle and I just hook it onto the float. So it just hangs on right there. And then put the needle down in there carefully. Come on. There we go. And slide the new pin in. Either side, doesn't matter. And then you'll want to look eye level with the float gasket surface and make sure that the float is either level with or maybe just slightly up higher at an angle than the float body. Make sure the float level is sitting correctly. And this one looks like it could maybe adjust up just a tiny bit. There, that one looks pretty good. Okay, so we got the bottom, or the top carb body finished. So now we'll move on to the float bowl. Put that down on there. So this one's just a matter of putting the new packing nuts, or packing needle rings on the packing, or on the packing nut and on the needle. Maybe that's the difference. And we'll just thread the needle in a little bit, push the packing needle, or the packing in, and kind of give it some, there we go. Took a little bit of persuasion to get it in there, but I got it. Maybe not quite yet. There we go. Now I got it. So just turn that in all the way until it gently seats against the body. Don't want to force it because it could ruin the profile of the needle or break the float bowl itself. Okay, just give this a little bit more of a tight. Okay, I think we got there we go. I like that a little bit better. That holds it a little tighter. Okay. So then we'll just set the carb body. Set the carb body back down. There we go. Take our screws, put them back in. And it's probably not necessary, but I usually just lightly tighten these down in a crisscross pattern. Except for the one by the fuel inlet, because that one's kind of the oddball. So I start with the four corners and then go to that one on the side. This guy right here. And then I just kind of go around. Until they're all fairly snug. As far as gaskets go, I like these tan or brown colored ones. As far as the aftermarket ones from Sierra go, the orange ones that I get, they just kind of, I don't know, when you tighten them down and if you got to take this carb bowl apart, they kind of get a little spaghetti. They wave and they won't sit back on the bowl straight. These ones seem to hold their shape pretty well. So that concludes video 3 in the series. The next video will be in the tank test. Thanks for watching. See ya.